Hey guys, thanks for joining us this week. Hello, hello.
Hello.
So we wanted to dive into 4 key things that are holding you back right now in your business. Most business owners find themselves in one of about 4 different places that are holding them back from the success that they're looking for in their business. And so we thought it would be important to talk about those 4 things and what might be putting you in that position so that you can kind of overcome that and move forward. And so the first one, of course, is accountability, right? Because we all need someone to help hold us a little bit accountable with our businesses and the tasks that we have, because especially as solopreneurs, it's easy to get off task and run rampant, or to not remember what we're supposed to be working on, or feel like you have a lot of extra time to just work on it whenever you want to, instead of pushing yourself along a little bit further to reach the launch and the goals that you have.
Yeah. So some of the accountability problems that you might be experiencing are with potentially the people that you have around you. So whether that's people you live with or whether that's people who are your friends, having accountability within your friend group or within your family or the people you live with is important, because it's going to help you create sort of a structure around some of the goals and the things that you want to achieve. So accountability comes in many different forms. It's in expressing to those that you live with and those that you're close with what your goals are, and also where you are going to start making changes or where you're going to start focusing in your day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month activities. And so when you make other people aware of what your goals are and what things you're working on, you're achieving a few different things. You're helping them understand where your mindset is and what things are important to you, but also establishing some boundaries. And maybe even creating a support system around those goals, which again, helps you with accountability and staying accountable. And so when we speak our goals and when we share our goals with others, we then become more aware that other people know what we were trying to achieve. So then you become more accountable to yourself, because you're like, oh, I told someone else that I was going to do this, and now I need to do this. Or I really want to work a specific number of hours during the day in my office, but everyone else around me in my home needs to know that that's what I'm doing, so they don't interrupt me. So it's just, there's a few different reasons you will do this, and there's so many benefits to it.
Absolutely. And so I know that having groups of like-minded people or other business professionals around me helps me hold myself accountable, because I will speak those things to them. I'll say, hey, Kayla, okay, I'm going to work on doing this. And I know it's going to later come up in conversation. So I might as well work on trying to get it done. Right. So it kind of puts that little bit of extra pressure on you. But a second thing that you can kind of face sometimes that could be holding you back can be imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is huge. It's huge for solopreneurs and small business owners in general. And sometimes it can be as simple as spending too much time on social media that can cause that.
Yeah, sometimes you spend too much time on social media. Sometimes you're looking at other people's progress and thinking that you should be at that level. And so instead of taking action on things that are important to you and taking action on things that are part of your goals, you're spending that time on social media thinking about why you're not achieving those goals when you could be spending time actually working on it. I think the statistic that I read or heard was that 70% of us feel imposter syndrome at some point or another. So if you are feeling
Absolutely.
that, if you are feeling struggles in showing up because you don't necessarily believe in yourself, then just know that you're not alone. It shows up in many different ways. I mean, if you are a service provider or a creative or someone who is regularly charging for their service based on the hours that they work, and you've probably heard other people mention this, that you shouldn't necessarily always charge based on the hours. You charge on the value or the transformation. If you're struggling with making that shift in your business, that might be showing up for you because of imposter syndrome, because you think, who am I to charge $1,000 for something that takes me 2 hours to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to make that shift. You got to start valuing more than just your time. You got to start valuing the things that people achieve based on your skill set, your expertise, and the transformation or desired results that they're going to get. It has nothing to do with the time. So if you're having that constant dialogue, like, who am I to do this? Then that might be because you're experiencing imposter syndrome, or that fear that you're going to make that shift and then things are going to start to fail. So, Crystal, what are some things that you think people could do to stop like feeling that imposter syndrome feeling?
Yeah, I think the obvious is shutting down, social media, unfollowing people who, yes, you might love and admire their work, but if you find yourself getting trapped up in what they're doing and comparing yourself and starting to go down that hole, that rabbit hole, then unfollow them. So it's not something that's routine for you, and you can come back and see what they're doing later. Don't put that kind of thing in front of yourself to allow yourself to not build up the confidence around what you're doing. But something else that you can do as well, especially as a service-based provider, is stop accepting clients and work that you wouldn't normally do or want to do if that person's like not the direction that you're trying to go, and you're just saying yes because you think that you're afraid of not having the income, or you don't think that you could find the right kind of clients. You're going to go ahead and accept working with that person, because doing those kinds of things puts you in that position of feeling that imposter syndrome, and it just kind of feeds into that same mentality. So don't be afraid that once you have decided to pivot or to niche down into a specific area, to start saying no to the things that you don't want to do, because you're going to start to perform poorly because you're not doing the things that you're wanting to do and the things that you love to do.
Yeah. It's so important to constantly be aligned with what's important to you, and aligning all the areas of your business and your life around what's important. Because if it doesn't bring you joy, if it doesn't bring you energy, then you're gonna suffer in some way, shape, or form. And some of that leads us to the next thing that might be holding you back, which is a lack of momentum. So if we're focusing on the wrong areas in our business, or focusing on the wrong types of clients, or focusing on feeling really down about ourselves and not like believing in our own skills and stuff, we can start to scale back our effort and start to scale back that momentum, and not really showing up to do what we know we need to do. But when we do that, we start to lack that momentum that grows our business. And then when we don't grow our business, and when we're lacking that momentum, we start to feel even worse. And then it just like is a downward spiral and a downward slope. So some of the things that might be happening to you if you are lacking momentum is maybe you're assuming that everything has to be perfect before you get started on something, or like launching an offer, or launching a product, or launching your new online course. You assume that everything needs to be perfect in order to do that, instead of valuing progress over perfection.
Absolutely. And so, not improving, not investing in those tools, different things like that that can keep or stall that momentum is important. And I think sometimes just having, accountability goes into the momentum as well, because when you have nothing motivating you and pushing you, you're not improving, you're not going anywhere, sometimes can feed into the fact that maybe you don't have people to support you, that you don't have things in place to push you along and get you where you need to go. And even some cases you can hit overload, and overload can even make you fall back on your momentum in your business.
A lot of things can really halt momentum in your business and really halt progress, like not investing in tools that you need to invest in, like being a freebie hoarder and like trying to constantly run your business off of zero investment. And sometimes that's necessary. Absolutely. Yeah. In my business, I did it for a very long time, and I still was able to, reach some form of success. It could have been done, though, a lot faster if I had invested more in the initial stages or earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that leads into what Crystal was talking about is when you start to feel overloaded, that's really the fourth thing that might be holding you back in your business, is that constant feeling of being overwhelmed, being overloaded in your schedule. And tools and resources that can help you build momentum can actually take some things off of your plate too. So all of these things kind of go hand in hand, but really taking care to not overload yourself is going to help you grow more quickly and stop you from really feeling held back.
Yep. And even with overload, learning to outsource and kind of let go of things is part of what we talk about when it comes to growth, but it can prevent you from feeling overloaded. Time and money go hand in hand, right? So if you're saving yourself some time to be able to focus more on the sales or product creation by being able to hand off, some blog writing or email, copyrights and stuff like that to somebody else, you will then be able to focus on the things that are making you more money to pay and make up for that. So don't let things like not outsourcing work hold you back and then allow you to get overloaded. Not, like Kayla was saying, having systems and tools and things like that in place will start to create that automation that increases momentum, keeps you from feeling overloaded, and allows you to move forward. But other things, like burning the candle on both ends. Like, we don't want to teach anybody the hustle mentality. I think we did a whole podcast episode over just that. We want you to realize that you don't want to do that in your business. You don't want to lead yourself to a position where you are when you're overloaded and you can't possibly take on more and you're not going anywhere and you feel like that hamster in the wheel that's just going, and you're taking on too many projects or too many collaborations, all of those kinds of things while you're trying to move yourself forward. If you don't take a step back and put a few things in place to protect yourself, make sure that your work is balanced, and maybe outsource a few things, you're going to find yourself in that overload, and then it leads to burnout and hopefully, not leading to complete shutdown. So that's why we felt like it was important to talk about. There are things that are holding people back right now. These are friends that I've seen in positions like this. These are clients that I've seen in positions like this. And we want to make sure that you guys are aware of that and realize that there are ways to overcome it.
Yeah. So I would like to round this all out just really quick before we end this podcast and maybe come up with 4 things that someone could do to not lack accountability, to not suffer from imposter syndrome, to not lose momentum, and to not be overloaded. So if we were to, and this is just off the fly, right? So Crystal, if there were one thing someone could do to get more accountability, what would be your recommendation? What do you think someone should do?
I think someone should look at various communities. There are lots of communities that are out there, and we actually just opened up our community for the Creative Boss Society. And what our members are doing in there is actually holding each other accountable. And it's amazing. There's a thread of literally 60 things back and forth of everyone dropping something on there and saying, okay, I need you to push me forward. And then literally other members, not even us, other members are getting on there and going, hey, it's been a couple of days. How are you doing on that? And just checking in with each other. So I think first, when it comes to trying to find a way to get some more accountability, look for that community like we have with the Creative Boss Society, where you can jump into the group and know that people are there to help you and not judge you, but kind of push you along a little bit and check in with you every couple of days to see what you're doing.
Yeah, I think I would have really liked having the Creative Boss Society when I was first starting my business, to be perfectly honest,
Right?
Which is part of the reason why we created it. So if someone was suffering from imposter syndrome, and I know we kind of already gave some tips and stuff, but I really like rounding these things out and giving people homework to do. You already said stay off of social media. So if I were to pick something that someone could do to avoid imposter syndrome, I think staying off of social media is a good idea. Mm-hmm. But I also think practicing the opposite. The opposite of what might be holding you back. So if you are that service-based business and you're really struggling to value what you do by pricing it higher, and you really want to try to push that a little more, in your next call, your next discovery call with a client, or maybe your next product launch or something like that, maybe practice doing the opposite of what you would normally do, which would be raise your rates, or instead of offering a service by the hour, try offering a flat fee. Just see what it's like and provide some space in that conversation. Like if you are doing a discovery call with someone, just don't oversell yourself. Just put it out there what your fee is. Allow them space to give feedback, like,
yeah.
Let's see what they say. And then let's see, did we give tips for momentum and overload?
We talked about it a little bit. I think we said briefly, tools and some systems can kind of help combat both of those. But I think specifically with momentum, I said momentum and accountability kind of go hand in hand too, in that sense. When you have a group that's helping hold you accountable, it helps keep up that momentum. But sometimes when you talk about momentum in terms of like gaining traction in your business, it can be collaborating with other people who have a similar audience. So it can be reaching out to someone and taking that first step of trying to make a new connection with someone who has a similar audience, so that you can see if there's an opportunity for you to collaborate. And that way you can gain the exposure and momentum in your business or in your product sales that you're needing by getting that out there in a different way.
Yeah. And I think people should know that we talked about this in the previous episode. So if you haven't listened,
Yes.
if you haven't listened to our previous podcast episode, we dive deep into collaborations and how that could really be transformational for your business and how it was for ours. So if growing your business and getting more momentum in your business is something that you're interested in, go back and listen to that episode for sure. And then overloading, what was the first thing you invested in terms of systems?
So the first thing for me that I invested in to keep from overload was a client management system. So I invested in Dubsado. Dubsado was the first one I bought, and I bought Dubsado way back when they first started out as well. But I've had it ever since then, because I was like, you know what, if at worst case, I can at least automate, contracts, invoicing, and reminder emails. That'll take that one more step off my plate of having to spend time in my emails every single morning following up with everybody. So I invested there first for myself.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example. For me, it's the opposite because I didn't really have clients. So my example would be somewhat different. Where I outsourced or bought tools or systems first was actually in my marketing. And the very first thing that I invested in was something that doesn't exist anymore. But the similar service that I do invest in today is Tailwind. So with Tailwind, I can automate my Pinterest strategy, and really Pinterest was half or more of my website's traffic and search engine results. So automating that aspect of my marketing and getting more eyes on my content and more traffic to my website really helped me streamline my marketing, as well as just kind of ease my mind that I was always active on Pinterest, basically, without having to actually be active on Pinterest. And that was like a small investment at the time. Yeah. So I think those are some really good examples. So if you are looking for a community to be more accountable, to gain more momentum in your business, we've got the Creative Boss Society open, accepting new members. So if you go to creativebossmethod.com/membership. You can join in the Creative Boss Society, where we have 30-day sales and income blueprints for you to follow and grow more sales in your business. We're doing twice a month coaching every month inside of the membership. We give you access to the vault of all of our trainings and past coaching sessions as well. And it's all, like almost $1 a day, basically.
Yeah, just a little over $1 a day. But the best part about the society is just seeing people move past the roadblocks that they're having. So if you felt like, okay, you know what, I needed to hear about these things, I'm fighting one of these right now. That's what we're doing in the society, is finding a way to support each other, preventing overload by giving you the tools and the resources that you need through those blueprints to succeed. And then making sure that we're helping with the questions and the things that you might be afraid to ask by doing these coaching calls and banding together so that you can start being more successful in your business. We'll see you guys next week.